Hello and welcome to episode 468 of Retro Encounter, RPG fans' bi-weekly podcast of many topics. I'm Zach Wilkerson and I will be your host today. And somehow I've made it to part 2. I have completed, no matter how much pain it gave me, and it gave me a lot of pain, I have completed Drakengard. Which, so that's what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about the many, many weird endings and weird people of Drakengard. But let's talk about the weird people here to talk about the weird people. Starting with you, Ben.
I'm so excited.
Me too. And Aleks.
Follow. It's Aleks.
Got the Watcher here.
And Steph.
Did the Watchers laugh too? I don't know why I love that line. It's so creepy coming out of her.
Yeah.
There's always that one point in Drakengard games where like my tummy just kind of drops a little. I'm like, ooh, that's creepy. I love it.
One point?
Yeah, touche.
There's a lot of points for me this time. Even our introductions are good. For the record, if you haven't played this game, it was funny. Someone on staff was like, "Oh man, I got to get into Drakengard after listening to part 1," and I'm like, "Do you though? Not sure."
It's for a mood for sure. Like if you're
sure
drowned out by the games with the friendship is magic kind of idea.
Yeah,
this is the antithesis of that. Sort of. There's still a bit of friendship, but it's all messed up.
If you're curious, just go see where that curiosity gets you. Like,
there you go.
Yeah,
just test it out.
It got me all the way to ending E. My sanity be damned.
Gosh, did you have fun with that final fight?
No, but we will talk about that.
Cool.
I did not enjoy that final fight. But before we get to the endings, but I had to do ending E. It's near. I mean, it's
near.
Really it's the beginning of near. But last episode, we talked a lot about obviously sort of the game in general. But like, one of the things that as I was listening to the episode, I was like, we're having a really hard time not talking about the companions. But one of the reasons we weren't really talking about the companions is because sort of canonically, Yoko Taro loves to mess around with canon, but canonically sort of like the companions aren't really around for like endings A through C. But you can recruit them like really early and then they just like magically vanish. But they are quite a party of people. So you have 3 separate people you can recruit, and somehow the least messed up of the 3 people is the most annoying, because child characters always are. But I do want to talk a little bit about these companions and how they completely subvert everything that we know and everything that we think about when we think about RPG companions.
That's fair.
And one of the things that's also interesting is that the localization softens these characters a lot, and they're still like it. In some ways, I think it makes it weirder. Like Leonard, it's never really textual what Leonard's proclivities are, but it also makes it like weirder that we don't know. Leonard is actually, I think, probably a decent. Can I say this? Am I allowed to say this? I think he's as decent a person as he can be. I think he's trying.
It's intentional, right? Like he is specifically meant to be like the most wholesome, like personality-wise character, and that is like what contrasts with like the what's going on behind the scenes with him. And I think that's intentional, right? Like to make the character that is the most good be the most like off-putting.
Something about the motherly character being just absolutely psychotic.
Yes.
Like, come on.
Yeah. Ariosh is kind of the same way too. Yeah.
It's awful when you see that like I can't say it. Seer really trusts him too. Like,
oh yeah, I know. There's some uncomfortable scenes. Yeah.
Oh yeah. There's a scene like right towards the end. This is during Route D, where Sarah like hugs Leonard.
Oh
like,
yeah.
And Sarah's head is like in the wrong spot. And to Leonard's credit,
well, he doesn't ever really do anything, right? Like, he's like, he never does anything bad. But that's like always at the back of your, I mean, you know, and I think that's like kind of the thing that Tarot is playing with, right? Like this like guilt, like Leonard in particular is like defined by like guilt and shame. And I think
he is suicidal too, so
yeah, and I think that was like
some
if you're gonna make it,
sure.
I guess Taro's like, if I'm gonna make a character like that, what is the thing that would make a person like this the most like guilt-ridden and shameful and like suicidal? And I guess, you know, it kind of makes sense that that's what you would come up with.
Yeah,
you know? Yeah.
There's a story to be told with that angle. I guess it's like one of the ways you could take it. Sure.
Yeah, and it makes it more tragic, right? Like he is ostensibly like a good person, so then you give him the most like
with a terrible proclivity.
Yeah.
Just really emphasizes that nobody is redeemable in the Drakengard universe. Like it's really hard to get a sense of these characters' interiority like as you're playing the game. I did actually check out, like, they have like a novelization for the game that gets like a lot more into the side characters and shows you more of their perspectives. I didn't read all of it just because I've had enough Drakengard at that point. But I did look at little glimpses, and there's a great line that I think sums up the game well, where it's just like, if hell ran rampant, human desire would only acclimate alongside it.
Damn.
And we really see that to an extent with all of these side characters. Like everyone has like a corrupted kind of desire, and that's not like a reflection of how necessarily like as how good or bad of an individual they are, or the choices they made. It's like they're also just a product of this world's that's just completely effed up.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it's also like Leonard is the only character that like doesn't have a backstory that really like explains what is wrong with him, right? Like you have that with like Ariosh and Sire and Mana as well, but his is more like, I think that they knew to like not do that, right? There's like no justification for why he is the way he is, and part of that I think is making him an otherwise, you know, like moral character kind of is to counterbalance that, you know.
Yeah, the part that makes it like even worse is the bit of backstory like that there is for him in this book is that he, like, him and his siblings' parents died a while ago, and he was the oldest by like a bit, and he became their like main guardian.
Oh, Jesus.
And that's kind of when these
that makes it worse.
Yeah, that's
doesn't
why
make it better, just worse.
Yeah,
less backstory is actually better.
Yeah.
I wish I didn't know that.
Like, I love it in a dark Mother Goose way, you know, like nothing good is going to come of this.
Oh,
yeah, and I mean, and that's the thing, like they die, like his siblings die, and that's like what his guilt, and that's like the thing that, you know, because especially the Western version of the game is like more like vague about what's going on with Leonard. It's kind of like you're kind of left to think, well, that's the source of his guilt, but it's like more than that. In the Japanese version, they get into like more of like why he wasn't there and why they got killed, and that is like directly related to, you know, his, you know, dark shame
proclivities.
Or yeah.
It's interesting too, because like probably the only time in the game outside of Verdelay just sort of being annoying, where he's like, why are you killing all these people? Kill them all. When you
got a perfect annoying voice for it too. Just
he sucks so bad.
Well, and it's like sort of implied too. He's kind of like losing his mind, right? Like that he's not really all there anymore.
I mean, he was making me lose my mind. So, but like when you're killing all those like Empire soldiers who are children, and it's like the only time where he's like, oh my gosh, please stop doing this. And it was probably the only, because like Angelus, like when she's saying like, oh, look at you with all your bloodlust, ha 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 ha, she's kind of laughing at you. Whereas he is like in genuine pain, while I am murdering children who are like have these death screams. It's definitely, I think that's probably for me the most disturbing part of the game was his side story, because and it's something that they lean into more in Drakengard 3, which I don't want to get into, but like that, the dialogue of the people you're killing and with the children, it's interesting that again, Leonard in that situation is the one who's like, please stop doing this. And it's not just because he likes them in the wrong way.
Yeah.
But that makes him like seem like so much more of a hypocrite. It like kind of nullifies his pleas to stop in a way. It's just like, yeah.
Well, yeah,
really
because like his, you know, Kaim's desire is like just to like kill all of them or Ariush too, right? And then his is more to do harm to them in another way, which even if he's not pursuing that, you still have that at the back of your mind when you're, you know, interacting with him or whenever, you know, no matter what he does. Yeah,
exactly. I also thought it was I don't know if nice is the right word, but nice touch by the game that so you can like summon your like one of the companions that you select before the mission by just pressing like circle, and if you summon Leonard during that mission where you're killing the kids to like get him in on the action, he has like a special line of dialogue where he says like it doesn't matter where his body drops because he's already dead. It's like a really just
yeah.
I just shake my head and laugh. I'm like,
yeah, I actually laughed more than I would think during this game because I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're doing this. But it's funny because like I never summoned Leonard because I think I summoned Ariush early, and I was like, oh, she's completely broken.
Yeah, she
just like wipes everything out immediately, which is appropriate, I suppose, because she wants to wipe out things immediately. I think that I can't remember how much of her backstory is in the game. I've been doing some reading, but she was like a mother who lost her children, right?
Yeah, her family, her husband and her child were killed by the Empire, and so she has like a warped sense. It's like a warped sense of motherhood is like what's motivating her. So there's like, she believes that like by killing and consuming the children, then she's like bringing them back into safety and within her womb. So it's like to protect them. Yeah.
It's like the devouring mother trope, just cranked to 11. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say.
I know.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm not often without words, but here I am. Someone else talking. I don't know what to say.
Well, it's like that. I guess the kind of the core concept for all of these characters is like the way that like this like trauma warps their like personalities and their sense of like self, right? And you kind of see that with like pretty much every character in this game, but particularly the companions, I think, are like the kind of preeminent example of that.
And even like with Ariush, like for most of the time, she's just madly rambling, like just all about like killing and eating kids. But there were like, I can't remember exactly, but like 1 or 2 moments in the game's dialogue during like a mission where like you could get a sense of the person underneath, and that just made like her character just even more depressing because like there was like a glimpse. I don't know if anybody else lucidity. Got that, but there's like a flash of lucidity where it's like, oh, this was like a mother, and now like she's been turned into this. Like, oh my god, this game.
Yeah, she's a good contrast, I think, to Leonard because Leonard is like super hyper aware of like what you know is wrong with him, and she's like almost completely unaware of what is wrong with her, and like what she like thinks what she's doing is like good and like justified, you know. And it's just kind of an interesting contrast between the two, even though they end up in a like kind of a similar place.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because Ariush was to me like the most entertaining part of this game. Like I did not find myself entertained except for like laughing like, haha, oh my gosh, what? Why are there babies falling from the sky right now? Are those are they the Watchers? Or the angels or whatever, dude? But so I enjoyed I like a Taro foul-mouthed psychopath. It's just like a thing I enjoy from Taro. I love Kaine, like Zero.
Mm-hmm.
I like A2. So I enjoy that trope of his. But a trope I don't enjoy is children characters. And Seirei is a great example of that. I don't really know what Serei's deal is. Like, Serei's side quest to me was very confusing. Like, Seirei gets captured by, like, so Seirei, those of you who haven't played this game for a long time, Seirei is the brother of Mana. It's really weird because, like, I don't think you can even do Serei's side quest until you get ending A, I think. And then Seirei is like, I'm looking for Mana, because the timeline in this game is weird. Like, you don't know who Mana is at that point, technically, in the timeline of the game, even though as a player, you absolutely know who Mana is. So that was kind of strange. I'm not sure if there's a reason for that. I'll let someone else pick that up if they want. But
yeah, I mean, it's just like, I think you wouldn't really, like, I think a lot of like Seirei's story wouldn't really have very much meaning or significance to you without having already been introduced to Mana and like seeing like what the result of her, their childhood basically had on her. It's kind of important to have that context before you meet Seirei, I think.
Yeah, because to me, like, Serei's whole quest really just felt like a way of sort of explaining Mana's sort of, I'll say, vulnerability to the Watchers, to being taken by the Watchers, because Mana wasn't loved by her mother the way that Seirei was. And so I don't see a lot of value in Serei's character, whereas the other two, I think they have like really interesting thematic ideas behind them, where Seirei is like,
I'm surprised they didn't have him like connect with Mana a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, I do think that conceptually it's very interesting. Like, I think Taro has said that like this like trauma or situation of like the loved child and the unloved, unwanted child is like one of the most horrible, like horrifying things that he could come up with.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of like truth to that, like this idea that you have one child that you favor and the other child that you abuse and discard. There is just something really terrible about that is almost more kind of terrifying than the like Ariosh or Leonard or some of the other characters' fates or situations, just because it's more like realistic. It's like more human, more realistic, more common. And I think like it's a good contrast to have Seirei, because Seirei is like a relatively normal child in a lot of ways, and Mana is so much not. And it's like the horror from Seirei is like knowing how like kind of normal he is because he got all of the affection and love, and then seeing that compared to Mana and how she ended up. Which does kind of make him a little bit like annoying and less interesting individually, but I think like conceptually the two together, like it's very powerful.
I actually really like how Drakengard 2 picks up the thread on them too, where Mana grows up and Seirei's kind of more of a high authority now as a child almost.
Yeah.
I think that's actually kind of cool.
Yeah, I think that's like the coolest thing about Drakengard 2, I think, is how it like resumes from Drakengard 1, and like how it takes Mana and tries to like makes her into a much more interesting character. And it's like, what would these characters be like when they're adults? And it kind of reverses the script on them. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I also think Seirei works well with just the fact that Leonard, a PDF file, and Ariosh, a child murderer, are like the two other companions. So you just have like this like genuinely innocent child in your party, and then you have these two extremely problematic figures just surrounding them, and
Kaine.
In certain Kaine's there too,
to boot.
Just never good.
And like Seirei is like, he represents something problematic even if he isn't individually problematic, right? Like it's more of like what, and it's like not his fault, and that kind of is, I think, what makes him tragic compared to the other characters.
And you will be interested to know, Zach, that apparently the other creators on the game hated Seirei too. I read that the co-writer. First of all, like fun fact, all the companions and their arcs were the parts
right?
of the game that were entirely written by Yoko.
It's not shocking.
Yes,
and
I think we talked about that last episode too.
Okay, true. And then the co-writer just like hated that they were like hiring child actors to like say these lines of dialogue, and then like apparently the producer just like Shiba just absolutely hates the character and was just pressured to bring him back for Drakengard 3.
So the writer for most of the dialogue is she was the scenario writer on Tales of Eternia.
Right. Yeah. I do remember seeing that.
That's quite a pivot.
Crazy, right? Yeah.
Speaking of friendship is magic.
That's phenomenal. But I actually think that like our conversation about Sarai gets to like one of I'm not even sure that it's a problem with this game, but it is something that is off-putting to me about this game. And again, you can sort of make the argument that's the point, is that like everything you're saying about Sarai and about Leonard and about Ariosh, like even outside of the fact that the localization softens, at least Leonard in particular, like they feel like outlines to me, like of like really interesting characters. Like it's like and like it just like takes it all the way to like 11 with her psychopathy, basically, in a lot of cases. And so like Sarai, like you're right, like you're totally correct. Like it's like a really interesting sort of contrast with Mana. The fact that they basically look the same, I think they look exactly the same. It is sort of interesting to see like sort of what is the consequence.
One is red twin, one is green twin.
But it's all just like it's all just idea. And one of the things I'll talk about more later is that I think this game, and I don't really even necessarily mean this as a negative, is sort of immature. Like as like it's made by like a young person, who's angry about lots of things, and so there's a lot of like outlines of things, but like Taro almost seems like he's refusing to fill these characters in because he's like, screw you, this is what you get.
Well, it's almost like the focus is so much on like defying the genre conventions or like tearing down what the normal tropes of an RPG would be, or like a hero's journey story would be. And like, because the focus is so much on that, it's less on the actual like characters and like what they mean and represent beyond their ability to do that, I think. And I think with the other games in this series, and then just Taro's other games in general, do a better job of like pulling meaning out of that, as opposed to just destroying kind of your preconceived notions, which is what I think Drakengard is like more focused on.
I also do think it might also be the half-bakedness is part of just the other people holding Yoko down a little bit, because like this novelization apparently there was a lot more backstory to these side characters that Yoko had in mind, and they just like it didn't make it into the game. Probably would have bloated it a bit too much, and wasn't even like in the main route to begin with. But then like all of these facts, the author of like the novelization talked to him and got like a lot more information about what he had in mind for these characters. And so if you're really interested, Zach, in learning more about these characters, there's a novelization for you.
I think I'm good.
Well, if you are interested, like that's a reason to play Drakengard 2, especially because it does, like, especially the dynamic between Sarai and Mana, because it does really like explore that more and kind of explores like this world, but like through a different lens that's not as dark and
miserable.
Like, miserable. Yeah. It's like what could be redeemed from a world like this, and that's kind of what Drakengard 2 runs with, and is very I think is a very interesting, foundation for a story.
I always like kind of picking up with like trying to redeem a villain, and especially in the case of Mana, who's was a villain as a young girl. I don't know. I think it's I don't know. I think Drakengard 2 is a little bit slept on at this point. I don't know if it's as good, but and I get it's not without Taro, but I think it still has its merit. It kind of feels a little less insane, and I kind of appreciate that for how much how much of a downer the games can be.
And it's a lot like I think Nier is very much a reaction to this game, and Drakengard 2 is also a reaction to this game, and it's like two divergent points of like where you could go from this game, and they're both really interesting. and
Yeah, I mean, this is sort of looking ahead to the next episode, but I do think it's, like I said, we're going to talk about Taro sort of as a whole, and I'm trying really hard not to talk about Taro sort of from his whole oeuvre here. But I think that Drakengard 2 would be interesting to kind of see as a product that is less his than, other things in the series or in the Nier series. But we've already talked about sort of the ending that gets us to Drakengard 2. But we're going to kind of sort of back up kind of here and talk about the other endings that you get in this game, because there are 4 more, which I think is interesting.
Each
because I
weirder
think it was,
than the next.
Yeah, it's interesting because like it's become like such a Taroism, right? Like and like multiple endings, but I think here it was just we're going to kind of have fun with it, and then it becomes part of his sort of autorism. But I think it's interesting, and Steph is absolutely right that they are all weirder than the next, and they are all either weird or way worse than the previous one. And
you almost want to go back to ending A at the end. You're like, no, go back.
Ending A is by far the nicest one.
It's kind,
by a huge margin.
It's the happy ending. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Whereas it gets progressively more messed up, and I think the context of ending A makes ending C more interesting. And it gets back to the whole idea of this game. Is this game kind of punishes you for playing it? It punishes you for doing the things that we are trained as people who play video games we should be doing. And even as a person who has been trained to want to play Yoko Taro games, because usually the final ending is actually the best one in his games. Whereas here, it's like, well, as your kill count goes up, and as you continue to like kill things faster, kill things more efficiently, here's what you get next. That's worse. And then ending C, now you get to kill like your only kind of friend who's also you're kind of in love with. Cool. And then ending D, we get sort of even the English localization, we get incest as textual. Cool. And then ending E just like goes totally off the rails in a good way. But so I want to kind of talk about them individually for a second here. Ending B is fast. Ending B and C are both quick. I got them both within like an hour and a half of us recording. I actually got C first accidentally because I cleared a mission too quickly.
I love ending B.
Yeah, but ending B
awful and
is
great.
Wild.
Yeah,
because you don't see the holy women in these games really depicted the way you see Furiai there.
Yeah,
it is so creepy, and I love it.
The scene where Inuar,
she looks pretty for a second, but very unnerving.
And then
it's too quiet.
Stabbed with the tentacle thing. Yeah, it's like that is such a creepy like.
You're alive.
It makes me think of like Alien or something. Like it has that like xenomorph kind of feel to it. It's like very
her eyes go
disturbing.
Wonky, and she starts screaming, and then you gotta fight that, and I'm like, oh god.
Yeah, it's very well done. Like
to hell.
Very like the actual like cinematic kind of quality of that scene. I think is very high. It's very disturbing.
Yeah, that's the most unsettling cinematic in the game for sure. Mm-hmm. Oh my god,
up there with the babies.
I was going to say, I beg to differ, sir.
Hard to beat.
Yeah, I don't remember ending B super well, to be honest with you. I mean, like Inuar tries to resurrect Furiai, right?
Yeah,
I kind of forget about ending A because like it's kind of nice and polite. I don't even count it really. I just kind of move on to the dark ones. I'm like, this is the ending.
Divorced from the other endings too, which is kind of interesting. Yeah. But yeah, ending B, he believes that they're like the seed of resurrection, right?
Yeah.
The like orb thing.
Even though Angela
kinda yes.
Yeah, says
like,
they're the
no, that's wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
And even Verdelay is like saying that, right? Like he's like, no, that's the legend, but it's wrong or whatever. And but Inuard is like kind of beyond reason at that point. He's like laughing maniacally and like just totally lost his mind because Fury.
It's great to see our like hero boy just completely devolve and dismantled.
Yeah, and then and you do have the fight.
Save the girl, and for what?
Yeah, and you do have the fight against him prior, which like. I think that this ending is kind of like the peak of the like aerial combat kind of portion of the game, because you have like a really, what I think is like a really good like kind of dog fight against like the black dragon, right? And then after that, then he goes and he brings Furia into the orb thing, and then of course he gets murdered by her, and then she's this like winged beast crazy thing, and then you fight against her, and like that's also like a really cool like aerial dog fight. I honestly, I think the game like could have benefited from more of these kind of scenarios where you fight like an enemy that has like similar abilities to you in the aerial combat portions. But the dragon combat, which as Aleks and I have said, is like the best part of the gameplay in this game.
Actually, peak gameplay.
Actually, peak gameplay. Wow, that's a take.
No, I don't mean that. But I did genuinely enjoy it. I thought it was great. Like with both of these fights, how you have to rely more on your manual fireball rather than like the lock on, and that just like forces you to, like you said, Ben, just approach it like a dogfight. Like you have to like, really like time the way you're approaching your target, time your blast so that it hits them while they're in movement. And if you start like getting the hang of it, like it gets really satisfying. And I do think that the fight against Corrupted Furii might be the most I died to like a single mission in the game, but by the time I was done it, unlike some of the other losses I had in this game, like I felt genuinely rewarded for the effort. Like it didn't feel cheap. It just felt like I figured it out. I learned how to move my dragon properly, and I learned how to time those attacks. So I had a good time.
Yeah, those wind blade kind of things she shoots out are like you have to be really good with your dodging to get out of that. Yeah.
Or with the lock on to just like get them out of the way, or to try to like time it so that you have your full on blast by the time they come up. Like there's just a lot to that fight.
Yeah, and as much as I do not agree with anything you're saying, but just kidding. Like I played this on how shall we say it, an enhanced version through newer means than a PlayStation 2, and it definitely helped with things like that, because like I still think the controls on the dragon, I'm just not good at that sort of thing. They're still janky enough that like I still didn't really enjoy it, and I didn't feel satisfied when it was over. I just felt relieved because I like you, Aleks, I think I probably died on this mission more than any other in the game, but it was like I felt like I was fighting my own ability to sort of see things quickly enough, and I thought the dragon controls, even by the time I got to the end and I had done every single expedition, never felt intuitive to me. So but I'm glad you guys liked it in all sincerity.
Yeah, it's like where you feel the most Ace Combat influence, I think,
For
in
sure.
this game is in these fights. Yeah,
they were comfortable with that.
Well, I am more of a fan of other kinds of combat, and that's kind of probably like the most epic boss fight in the air. But we actually only get, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think there's only one boss fight on the ground in the entire game, and it's ending C. Is that correct? Is there any others that I'm missing?
I mean, there's a couple like where you get like locked in a room with like a mini boss on the ground or whatever, and then it'll usually just be like two big enemies or whatever. But yeah, I think you're right as far as like formal boss fights.
Yeah, like an actual like boss monster. I think so.
Yeah, because ending C is maybe slightly less messed up in some ways than ending B. I don't know. It's like I like doing a ranking of like most messed up endings in Drakengard. It seems like a fool's errand, but
rating.
Yeah, exactly. So I think here, correct me if I'm wrong, like instead of the egg being used to quote unquote resurrect Furii, instead Mana uses it to try to control or to summon a dragon, and then the dragons really don't like that, and so then Angelus, along with the rest of the dragons, are like, screw you guys, this is over, we win, we're fighting you now.
Yeah.
Is that an accurate assessment of what happens in Ending C? I know I keep asking questions like I didn't play it, but I promise I did.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much like the dragons, she's trying to, under the influence of the Watchers, like summons them, and then they are not able to be under her control, so they just like destroy the world, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like dragons are actually immune to human deceit, which is a nice little trait they have, and explains Angelus's snark throughout the entire game. But yeah, it seems like this actually makes a full-on war between humans and dragons break out, and then Angelus, being a noble dragon who was devoted to her race, like actually just have to turn on Kaim, and like, not that it's anything personal, but it's kind of just a matter of fact, like, yo, like it's just dragons versus humans now. Yeah, this is business. And she actually kind of like roots for you as you're killing her, which is nice of her, I guess. But yeah, that's the boss fight.
Yeah, it's like, oh, like, see how far you've come, like almost like an anime, like, oh, I want you to fight you at your peak strength, like kind of thing going on. Yeah.
Like
it's not the damsel, it's not the kid, it's the dragon I'm going off for.
Yeah, there's one point where she's just like, ow, I'm in so much pain. It's like, oh man, I don't want to do this. Bring ending A back.
I mean, Steph, that
let me hug the dragon.
Steph, it makes sense because like Angelus is kind of like the most, like, I feel like the character you get the most like attached to of all the characters. Yeah. So it kind of hurts the most to like have to turn on her.
Yeah, because for the whole game, you're just seeing humans just being these brutal, unredeemable creatures, and dragons just are literally above them on like kind of a values level. So the fact that you're killing the creature that you've seen be the most noble and standing by their principles, it does kind of suck.
Yeah, and I think ending A, knowing that those feelings sort of exist, because, you know, it's not a thing that you really see much of, and I'm not sure. I guess the thing that probably led to ending A's feelings of Angelus doesn't actually happen in Route C, I think, technically, where you sort of encourage her to do something she thinks she can't do, I think. I don't know. The timelines are wonky here.
Yeah, that's right. Like chapter 8, I'm pretty sure only happens for ending A, and that's the chapter where you kind of convince Angelus to follow Kaim's sort of will, and that's what kind of strengthens the bond between them. But yeah, I don't think chapters 8 happens at all in the other routes.
Well, regardless, I still think that it is. I think it's like probably one of the maybe the only kind of heartbreaking moments in the game, really, because like it's as you guys pointed out, like it's someone you like, and I genuinely enjoyed the fight. Like there's one, like, really, once you learn like the one tell that she has, like it's not hard, but at least it is like a tell that I have to pay attention to and then I react to, and it's kind of because the space is so small, like you kind of have to pay attention to positioning as well. It makes it's better than some Dark Souls 1 bosses, so that's something. I mean, Bed of Chaos exists, so I enjoyed it. It was actually fun, and that is saying something in this video game. So yay, ending C for that. But I think it's crazy too, because Kaim is like the moment at the end is like Kaim's like walking off to go do battle with like 1 million dragons, and in most video games that would be like epic, like, oh, look at him off to do it, and you're like, he's gonna go die like in 5 seconds.
No problem.
I got this.
Yeah.
I wish they kind of treated it like that, just like a little quick fire on him, just poof. That's it.
I wish that would happen too, because it would be like a little moment of like humor or levity in a game that generally lacks it, except for like laughing at Vertile sounding like an idiot, or just like, oh my gosh, I can't
like
believe
dark
they're doing
ironic
this.
ways.
Yeah.
I mean, both endings B and C could use a little touch of something, because it's literally both of them are Kaim emerges out to a view of just either a bunch of corrupted, messed up angel fury eyes appearing in the sky, about to kill him, or a bunch of dragons appearing in the sky that are about to kill him. So things aren't going too great for our lead man here.
Buckle up, folks. It's all bad.
Well, I mean, it gets way worse in ending D.
Yeah.
It's like
I love ending D though.
Oh yeah, me too. Like it's like ending A, or like leading up to ending A, as you're like approaching the Empire and the capital, like the sky becomes blood red, and it just kind of stays that way. And you're like, man, things have gotten really bad in the world of Drakengard.
Yeah.
And then ending D starts, or like the Route D starts, which is it's a really interesting route in general, because like Route D, I can't remember if we said this earlier, you have to do the companion quest, so the companions are actually with you on these, which definitely adds a level of insanity to the events that are already completely insane in Ending D because the people you're with are insane. But it also like it there are so many like different like branching paths within the route. Like they do this occasionally throughout, but like here, if you don't kill something fast enough or walk through the right door in some situations, it'll literally put you back on the path towards the quote unquote like, you know, true path, I guess, or ending A, which that's, I guess, continues into Drakengard too. But I think the construction of Ending D and Route D is sort of interesting in that you have to like usually kill faster, kill more, to get towards it, which gets to the whole point I was making earlier.
Yeah, or you have to do some like narratively bizarre things, like that one mission where you're rushing through like a bunch of enemies to try to get to Fury Eye and Mana. At least that's what you think, and then you right at the end you actually have to turn back, go back to previous rooms and try to track down Mana. Well, you don't even know that. You're trying to, I guess you're just aimlessly wandering around instead of going to Fury Eye, who's right in front of you, and you end up stumbling upon Mana. Then you have to like chase her down, and that leads to like the proper route of D. So some seriously curious and bizarre things they're doing with the different routes here. Another funny one was, I think in that same mission, if you've already failed the true Route D path before that, there's just it's the same map, but there's just 0 enemies in it, and the goal of the mission is just like get to the end of the map in like 2.5 minutes or something, and you're just darting and darting to get it. But if you're trying to get all the weapons, like at one point you're rushing and it's just like, oh, a treasure has appeared on the map, and you look at your map and it's like behind you.
It's the beginning of the map. It's on the previous floor in like the second room.
So again, instead of rushing to like this very urgent situation with your main character's sister, you're just like, crap, I gotta go back to get this weapon. It's like,
what?
It's really funny.
See, the game's hilarious sometimes.
Funny in like a I'm going mad kind of way.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know how much of that is like, because you always have like, you know, sort of like you're always in a hurry. The world is ending in every RPG, right? And here, like it in very like it feels like trolling kinds of ways. Is like, haha, you're supposed to be in a hurry and you have 2.5 minutes. Now let me screw with you and go run back here. And I can just sort of, again, like we talk about it sort of being funny. It kind of is, but it's like, I know we've talked about Moon, the anti-RPG. In some ways, this feels like the anti-game. It's like, I'm going to punish you or kind of play around with all these things that you've been trained to do, including getting chests, because haha, you're an idiot.
Square Enix stepped in with Nier Automata. It's like, no, we're giving you platinum. You make them work, okay? Let them do the work.
It's almost like I think anytime you have a game with this many different endings, there is going to be like a level of like esoteric like ending requirements, you know, are kind of inherent to that. But they take that idea and just like roll with it. And are like, let's just make it like as absurd as possible. Which, I kind of understand to a certain extent.
For sure. I wouldn't give them like credit for all of these weapon unlock conditions. Like a lot of them just feel like completely arbitrary and cruel in a lot of their conditions. But this one with the chest that appears behind you as you have like a 2-minute limit felt like perfectly like subversive, and it's like they must have known what they were doing with this one.
I mean,
my
definitely
eyes rolled.
A lot of them,
I was like, okay.
A lot of the weapon like requirements do feel like something that they kind of just like threw into various missions of the game like haphazardly kind of towards the end of development. I don't know how true that is, but that's definitely like the feeling you get from it, because I mean, I don't know if they just decided, well, we want to have all of these. We don't really have a place to like logically include all of them. And ending E is already kind of a joke ending so making the requirements so obtuse, I guess they felt like is justified by that to some extent.
I wonder, has he ever talked about ending E? Like, was he like, something I was tickling at the back of my head and playing with it, and if it ever got picked up? Or was it like genuinely just like, no, I kind of happened upon it. I thought it'd be funny.
I think they were influenced by Silent Hill. Having the like alien, kind of endings.
Tracks. Okay.
And then also it was like a way to like get a little bit of an Ace Combat like reference in there with the planes and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it was just like, let's, we have this absurd idea, like we're going to have 5 endings. And I think too, like ending D and E kind of, because like E is kind of springs off of D, it's like D is kind of the, like ending that like the really true like final ending that you get if you like do all the stuff and you follow all the requirements. And then E is just kind of like an addendum to that if you're like really insane and dedicated to the game.
I like ending D. I think it's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, it is really interesting, like the kind of fates that each character like meets in the ending. Like,
seeing as how like they built Nier off of ending E, I almost wish they kind of built another Drakengard of ending D in this kind of like frozen capital.
Yeah,
that this whole inaccessible satellite view of the planet that shows you this one whole chunk is inaccessible now.
Yeah, and I guess in some ways, like, because
haunting.
Drakengard 3 is like kind of a prequel in some way in like to Drakengard, like it's almost like it's like I feel like the thematically the most similar to like ending D, but it's like what came before, because you can't really follow up D. It's like is there really like, can you really follow this up with anything? You know what I mean? Like you kind of have the finality of it. Is so significant. But yeah, I mean, you have your like Leonard makes his heroic sacrifice that is, it's not really clear if it's meaningful at all. Like it might be purposeless. And Ariash kind of has her moment with the Watchers, and it's just like everybody kind of
moment is she is eaten by babies, right?
Yes.
So
that's the perfect irony.
I want to make it very textual here.
Yeah,
and it's also in this
willingly eaten by babies. Yes.
She opens up
after she's
come, my children.
After she's already consumed babies earlier, these same babies. And I think this is the ending route where it also becomes at least as close as it can in this ending route, where Furry Eye's incestuous feelings for Kaim become clear, and Mana is sort of torturing her with them. When people talk about the insanity of Drakengard, and sure, there's a lot of insane stuff before this, but to me, like ending D, it's like, I'm like, oh my gosh. It's only vaguely explained. Like we don't ever really find out for sure who the Watchers are. Not really. Interestingly, I think that the thing that explains what the Watchers is best is the Nier raids in Final Fantasy 14.
Oh, no way.
I love how Taro doesn't give a crap about canon or anything like that. He's just like, yeah, screw you guys. It's awesome.
Yeah, well, there's like I think this is in like the supplemental like material. There's like that they are. Yeah, the Watchers are like dragons. Like they're like an evolved form of dragon that have like succumbed to the like what they called like the red eye disease, which is like the malign influence that like affects like Inuart or like the Imperial soldiers or whatever. And then through some means they became the Watchers, but it's not really that clear exactly how all of that shakes out. And I think it's not really like that important,
it's just kind of tying up loose ends.
are dragons, then who are the babies?
That is what the babies.
That's
what the babies are. Yeah, the babies are the dragons. Like they're like an evolved form of the dragons. Yeah, it doesn't really make very much sense, but it's not really supposed to, right? Like it's supposed to be like a horror beyond human comprehension, and I think it does like achieve that. Yeah,
it certainly achieved that for me. I'm like, what the fuck is happening right now?
Yeah,
it is hell. It looks like genuine hell.
Yeah.
Like,
and then you have like Verdele hiding behind a rock, like whining
just losing
about
it. Yeah.
How this is hell. We're living in hell. It's like, man.
At least
like,
I agreed with him for once.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the people who are lucky to have a quick death, really, and then you got Vertile, who's just tucked behind a rock, just dreading what's left.
Yeah,
You
who
know?
knows? He may
Haunting.
maybe he lived. Who knows? To walk amongst the ruins of the world,
Just complaining all the time.
yeah, and I mean, and then you have like the kind of final confrontation, I guess, and I mean, they like Sire makes like his like noble kind of sacrifice, I guess, right? Like, kind of, I mean, I guess it's kind of implied that like the nature of his pact, that he doesn't age, he's like able to like use that to like stop time, I guess, is kind of what.
Yeah, and he unleashes it.
Yeah,
just-
and that. Yeah,
How does anyone have powers? Just whatever, you write it in there.
Not
Yeah.
before
Literally
Angelus is
became
torn
the
apart
little
right
hero.
in front of us.
Yes, Kym and Angelus get killed by the by the.
I love
the
that
babies.
final launch. Like, they just launch Sarah.
Yeah, like a missile. Yeah, he's just like shooting towards. Yeah, it's crazy.
I laughed a little bit, and then it was actually quite like, like the subtle fall was actually kind of graceful.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I was like, oh, that's
Yeah.
pretty.
It's the kind of cutscene you would see like in like an epic ending to an anime, right? But there's nothing.
It is very end of Evangelion, and I think it is
Yeah,
actually
for
like
real.
explicitly like a reference to that as well. Yeah,
I mean, it is
That makes
it is
sense.
about that dark, so that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think like Evangelion is kind of a thing that was like influencing Taro a lot at the time, because there's a lot of like elements of this game that are kind of referential to it or inspired by it. And I think, Ending D is kind of the most like clear example of that.
Yeah, there's
Not
also that
directly,
famous
but I like how Evangelion kind of gave writers not permission per se, but they kind of made it like cool to kind of relay that depression.
Takahashi doesn't become Takahashi, the guy behind Xeno, without Evangelion
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
sure.
for sure.
So,
Yeah.
Hugely influential. Yeah.
And like you even saw that with FF7, just the way it kind of deals with like depression related themes, and it's kind of interesting to see how it gets depicted in games too.
Yeah, amidst
part of
like
the
a
insanity.
world-ending threat, right? Like the kind of existential dread and
Have any
depression.
of you guys seen
that comes with
Melancholia?
that. Mm-mm.
Oh, I
Okay,
freaking love that movie.
Right? Yeah. So Melancholia is about this. It's about this rogue planet that's impendingly about to crash into the Earth. Okay, and so Kirsten Dunst's character plays a woman about to get married, but she's in the midst of like a really bad case of depression. So on the happiest day of her life, she can't get happy. Right. So then, as this planet is about to crash into Earth, everyone else is kind of losing their minds, but kind of in a fun twist of ironic fate, the depressed
prepared.
person is kind of prepared and kind of able to cope. And so, when you guys were talking about how you're kind of traveling with a troupe of kind of insane people, like you have this kind of bizarre posse, greeting the end of the world. I kind of thought of that.
Yeah. Yeah,
I can totally see that.
It's
Like, these
thematically very similar. Yeah, for sure.
These are the only people who could really handle this. Like, who could,
Yeah.
like, they're so
Yeah,
insane.
yeah.
They're
That,
so
like,
steeped in the darkness already that like
Yeah.
what's giant evil eating babies.
Yeah, it doesn't affect them because they're so either messed up already that they don't even really intuit the situation that they're in, or their internal situation is so bad that it doesn't phase
Like,
them.
it's all kind of irrelevant to them.
yeah.
Yeah.
They
That's a
have
really
their
interesting
problems,
point.
I have mine.
Yeah, I guess that is kind of a response to like, and this kind of, I could see the Evangelion kind of influence there, where you have this like Evangelion is very much like what would actually happen to a bunch of teenagers that are forced to like fight repeatedly to
Really?
prevent the end of the world, and it's like really like messes them up. And this is kind of like, what would your party actually have to be to like successfully like deal with a world-ending threat this way? And this is like what they would be. The same way that he's like, well, what would Kym, what would a person who kills hundreds and thousands of people be like? Really, it's like, yeah, this is really who your party of heroes would be if you were facing this.
Yo, I love in Drakengard 2 when Kym comes back even like madder and more furious and more insane. Like I just think that's such a cool way to continue his arc.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a kind of like the boys kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
like,
there's no heroic redemption. Like I'm sick of all these do-gooder stories of heroes, and this is such a great antithesis to that. And even though I don't like a lot of the parts of Drakengard gameplay, I keep coming back because it's just nothing's like this.
Yeah, it's like it's like a real examination of like power and like what that power like does to the people that are impacted by it, I guess, right? Yeah,
for sure.
And I particularly like that in the context of ending E, which
here we go.
I mean, my goodness, we talked about some ridiculous weapon requirements already. If you've never gotten ending E, first of all, don't watch it on YouTube. Second of all, like you have to collect every weapon, and I'll talk more about this next week. But I am at the very tail end of Drakengard 3. And collecting every weapon in that game is fine. It's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Collecting every weapon in this game is not fun at all. Like the one Aleks was talking about earlier, like that was, again, I think it's kind of clever. But
it's cheeky for sure, yeah.
Yeah, going through all those expeditions, there's one where you have to touch, there's no hint at this. Like there's some treasure chests in front of it. You have to touch the first painting on the right, and then you have to touch the first painting on the left. And when we say touch, it's literally just run your body into it. And then you have to touch the 7th painting on the right and the 7th painting on the left. And then you have to fight, I think it's like 8 or 9 waves of like 10 soldiers who are like pretty powerful. And it takes like 25 minutes. So if you screw up the painting thing, which I didn't realize I'd screwed it up, I had to do it again.
Oh, no.
I was like, oh my gosh. The weapon requirement stuff in this game is horrendous to the point that like I think that without a guide or someone pointing it out, like it would be, I don't know, whoever figured this stuff out, like more power to them. I'm actually genuinely curious how long
there
it
had
took
to be
someone.
a guide. Like I think like in Japan especially, like there you know, guide, like almost like a lot, especially back then, like everything got like some kind of guidebook or like guide, you know,
I miss those days.
behind the scenes and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm sure, I mean, it possibly, you know, it was like an attempt to sell more copies of that. And also, like, I think it's not really expected. I don't think they expected most players to really do it, you know? So, like, ending D is, like, the kind of, like, real, like, final ending with all of the people and, like, doing,
but it
like,
taunts me by
stuff.
saying I have one ending left.
Last
ending.
Yeah, it's for the tarot is like telling you that completionism is bad and that it's
kind of like when it lets you buy the trophies in Nier Automata.
Only insane. Yes, exactly. Like only insane people do the are completionists, and thus you have to do insane things to be a completionist for this game.
Yeah, without the internet, you absolutely need a guide to get through some of these. Like the one that's just like fly straight to the end of town on your dragon and jump off. It's like, because that's totally a natural thing to do that I would have thought of at a certain point. Or the painting one is the same thing. It's like, because it'd be one thing if the 7th painting on the right and left was the last one, but it's not even. There's like 10 or something.
Like I'm trying to count while I'm being ganked by like relatively powerful soldiers, like worried about dying. It's like, you got to be freaking kidding me, man.
Well, and it's like, you know, there's no real, like, I think they're also limited by like the actual mechanics of the game itself. So like you're talking about the painting thing, Zach, and it's like there's no interact button. Like you can't, like you don't really like interact with things in the environment beyond just like killing enemies that much. So like this idea that you would even ever do that is just completely alien, right? And so like the limitations of the game itself make like some of the things that they make you do so absurd, I think.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and then the actual ending is absurd.
Yes.
Because, again, like, I feel like probably a lot of people who go back to play Drakengard are in the same position as me. Like, I am a Nier fan. And so I'm like, I there's, like, no possible way that after knowing how important ending E is in both Nier and Nier Automata, even kind of knowing what it is and how it's kind of like a joke ending that apparently Taro put in without some of the producers knowing. And then he was just like, well, it's there. And they were like, okay, I guess, cool. Because you get transported, because Sarai doesn't doesn't jump down, and then you go into one of the seeds of destruction or whatever, and then you just get teleported to Tokyo along with the mother beast, or I don't know,
Beast
one of the
Queen,
giant watchers.
Yeah, the Queen Beast or whatever. Yeah.
And then they start, without even explaining the controls for the record.
Yes.
And then you get like these white and black rings that are, it's not even really a rhythm game. It's not, Drakengard 3 is a rhythm game. This is not a rhythm game. It's just like a Simon Says, basically.
Yeah. And you're like canceling out the thing that the Beast Queen or Queen Beast is producing, basically. Yeah.
And it's mostly fine until like the last 25 seconds where you just have to hit square triangle in like 4 4 4 4 3 2 4 4 4. You're flipping back and forth constantly where you have to, like, I hit pause.
Oh yeah, were you pausing a lot too?
I abused the save state on this one, to be honest with you. That helped. But it's absurd, and then you get shot out of the sky by like spider jet.
Well, there's your comedic moment, Zach. Yeah.
I like how even the UI changes though. Like the font is just this basic, and it's quiet and they're static, and that's it. It's like, okay.
The end.
Like,
Thank you.
But also, it spawns the entirety of a much more popular franchise.
And it's like you see, if you played Nier first, and then you're like, oh, I got to go back and like experience this ending. Then you're like, wait, what? Like that's it? Like, how does that even make any sense? Like it doesn't, right? But it wasn't really. I mean, it wasn't also conceived as that, and to begin with. So it's just something where he's like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if I based a whole entire other game out of this joke ending or whatever, so
I wouldn't be surprised if that's like a secret Yoko Taro catchphrase, like wouldn't it be funny if ... and something silly happens. Oh, doesn't Mono get crushed? I like we were talking about funny deaths. Doesn't she just get like spirited
in ending B, I think?
It's the golem, and she gets the Monty Python foot ending.
I feel like I'm going insane even just talking about this game.
Right.
I think from a broad perspective, because I don't know how long we're running. Listeners, I don't know how much you can tell, but we've had a lot of technical issues during this recording, which is very appropriate because we're talking about Drakengard or a Taro game. So I don't know where we are in the time, but I do feel like we're kind of getting towards the end here. And I do want to kind of talk about Drakengard as like a whole for a minute here. We've kind of talked about it, but Drakengard is an extremely interesting game to me. Ending E is really interesting. But it does feel to me like just like a sequence of trolling. It feels like sort of intellectual exercise. And as a person who I'm an English teacher, I've studied film. I can deal with like a 2-hour movie that is like deliberately unpleasant, right? I can deal with even like a 3-hour movie that is deliberately unpleasant because it's making a point, because it's art or whatever. But I will admit that I think I got the point somewhere around 5 hours in, and then I was like, but I think that like the fact that I continued to drag myself through it in a way that feels like intellectual exercise, but also like me fighting against my instincts, and I don't know what I would have done if I wasn't recording these episodes. It does create a very particular feeling, but I'm not sure that I think it's totally successful in doing it. I hate to say the P word, the pretentious word, because I hate when people use it 99% of the time, but I do think this game is a little bit that, where it doesn't have enough backup for what it wants to do. So then it becomes like academic exercise instead of something else.
What I would say to that is that I think that to me, when I think of pretension, I think that implies a level of intent that I don't necessarily think is here.
That's a fair point.
Because I think this game, like the way that it is so much because it went through like a troubled development cycle. And a lot of those elements I think are just them salvaging and trying to make something interesting out of a gameplay and like game idea in general that never really coalesced into something cohesive or what they really intended or set out to do. And so instead they like took a different tact, or like, okay, well, let's kind of make this like a sort of deconstruction of like what the like tropes or things that we associate with like an RPG, right? And that is, I think, mostly a reaction to the inability and the troubled development and like the inability to really make something, you know, that is like was originally cohesive and like a more mainstream product. And it, like, I think at some point it probably became clear during development what was never going to be that. So rather than make a bad game that doesn't really have anything interesting going for it, it's like, well, we'll deliver an interesting, unique experience that kind of makes up for the fact that the game doesn't really, you know, isn't really complete in the way maybe they wanted it to be.
Yeah, and I think the thing that makes it like even more interesting and less pretentious is that I don't think there was any agreement across the board of what this game should be.
Yeah.
And that's like reflected
Fair.
even more in just like how dissonant and weird it ended up being. Like the story, like as we've been talking about, it's been the main thing that we've focused on here. It's complete insanity. But then the gameplay is just this kind of serviceable Dynasty Warriors that just isn't quite polished, has a terrible camera, doesn't, and like I don't think it's bad on purpose or to make a point. I think it's got like serviceable progression as an action RPG, and I think the aerial combat is genuinely pretty good and polished, and it seemed like the devs that worked on that knew what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
So you just end up with this really curious thing where it's like different creatives on the team are trying to go for like a different experience, and you end up with this really unique video game that I don't think you can get anymore, where it's like it is in the eyes of the mainstream, but a lot of it's just aesthetics and what it is goes so against what is commercially successful that you end up with this game that both is and isn't commercial, both is and isn't like artistic. And I think that's what makes it most fascinating to me.
Yeah, it has so much ambition, and it's like in a lot of ways it's not able to realize any of those ambitions, but it's able to like do so many like interesting things within that like failure to meet those ambitions. And that's kind of what makes it interesting in a way a lot of other games like aren't.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you. I mean, I think that we could probably talk for another hour about like sort of the themes and ideas and gameplay mechanics and stuff like that this game is doing. And I think you're right. Like pretension does imply an intentionality, and you can sort of see it sort of cobbled together throughout. But I do think that at the end of the day, it still has like a consistent-ish vision of what it wants to be. I think that I say that to its credit. If Taro really is sort of putting all these disparate elements together and somehow managing to make something that approaches cohesion, then I think that's impressive. But we had to like intentions of the artist versus what the product actually is, and I still think the product is unsuccessful at doing the art, or whatever you want to call it, is not totally successful at what it wants to do. That doesn't mean it's not interesting, and I'm not glad I didn't do it. Sort of, it just means that I don't think that it's fully successful outside of being a thought piece, which is enough. But it's a thought piece that I spent 30 hours on.
Yeah, well, I think it arrives at a lot of the things that it does by accident, and that is almost like, I think, as interesting as a game as the later games that Taro would direct, where there's more of a cohesive, like a more fully formed idea going in of what the game is going to be and how it's going to achieve like a particular result. Whereas this definitely doesn't feel that way, but it's still, you're still looking at, like, it's still interesting, even though it fails to kind of to be that, I guess, if that makes sense. Like yeah, go ahead, Aleks. Yeah.
It's like part like movie from like ex pretentious artsy fartsy director combined with like a bit of Tommy Wiseau's The Room, like, and that makes for something very very unique.
Yeah.
I actually think I'm going to use that as like the pull quote for this episode.
And it's like there's elements of it that are super ambitious, and there's elements of it that you can see like the kind of like veteran like status of some of the people who worked on it, and then there's parts of it that's like so amateurish that it's like almost hard to believe, that like people.
I get that with a lot of the intoners in 3. Like, I'm not buying what they're selling. For the craziness it is, I'm just like, whatever.
Yeah, and I think that to an extent is like some of Taro's like maybe giving into his like worst impulses a little bit, and I think there is a lot of that in this game as well.
Absolutely, yeah. For all the good he does, I do think he kind of like slips and just kind of like, I don't know, just not my speed.
Well, it's edgy. Yeah, like I think the game is edgy, and I think it's trying to be edgy, and like. I think that is more what you like, more accurate to level at it than it being pretentious. Is it's like it's just trying to be like really edgy and like dark for the sake of it in a lot of ways. Yeah.
I mean, I think that those are, in this case, I would say like 6 in one hand, half dozen in the other.
Yeah, they're related. Yeah, but it doesn't have. I think it's like Taro. I don't know that he has pretensions of high art, but I think he does have like, I'm gonna shock you. You know, and he's more
it's so
going
unique
for
in the realm of video games. Like, it kind of works.
Yeah. I mean, and this is a time too when this game came out. Like, you were having games like a few years later, like Rule of Rose, for example, which is a game that it doesn't have any. It was banned in like multiple countries because there was this like rumor that it had like sexual like violence or sexuality with minors, which is not even in the game at all. Like it's like actually not in the game at all, and so the entire like, you know, thing around it was completely like fabricated. But it's like or Manhunt, which is that Rockstar game where they, you know, you're doing all this brutal killing of people, and that was also banned in a lot of countries where there is so much like media interest in like what video games are doing, and like there's a lot of from the publishers like really like afraid of that risk of like trying to do something that really like kind of breaks conventions or is you know, kind of brings on that kind of unwanted controversy. And then you have this game which is like doing all of those things and somehow avoids all of that conversation, probably because of its obscurity in the West more so than anything else. And it's just really interesting to see them kind of go whole hog with that at this time. Yeah.
I mean, I think that, and we've sort of touched on Taro sort of as a creator in general. And let me tell you, folks, if you are interested in listening to more of us talking about Yoko Taro, in 2 weeks, we're going to talk about it a lot more. But before we go into housekeeping, which I'll talk about, does anybody have anything else they wanted to say about Drakengard that we have not covered?
What a story, Taro.
That's nice.
Thanks, Yoko Taro. Yeah, it's something. But and we've already, again, like I said, we've kind of started to touch on this, and I'm glad that Steph was talking about Drakengard 3 because we will talk more about that in 2 weeks. We're going to talk about it's going to be a continuation of our Yoko Taro, or of our Otor encounter. I think it's actually the episode idea that Aleks originally pitched for like sort of that idea. We did one on Sakaguchi, and now we'll do a deep dive on Taro, looking at not just Drakengard 1 and 3 in particular. We probably won't talk as much about Drakengard 1 because we've just spent hours talking about it. But then we'll kind of dive into the Nier series. We'll look at Voice of Cards. I'm getting real weird with some of the stage plays. Taro's all kinds of crazy stuff. And so we're going to kind of look at his themes and his philosophies sort of over all of the work that he's doing, including some of his mobile stuff.
I think if nothing else, like Aleks and Zach, having now played Drakengard 1, I think that really reframes and like explains and makes the experience of playing all of his other games like more impactful, because you can kind of see where it started, and that makes it worth it, even if the game itself maybe isn't as worth it on its own.
No, I agree.
He's made the efforts to connect them, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah. After playing Drakengard 3 immediately after Drakengard 1, Drakengard 3 feels like Sekiro, like in terms of the gameplay. It's like, ooh, this is smooth and flashy and fun at 3 FPS. But we'll get into that in a couple of weeks. And then I could talk a little bit about some of the games that we're going to be talking about after that. So after we talk about Yoko Taro, where we will eventually leave that man alone, and then we will spend a couple of episodes talking about Star Ocean 2, a game that is significantly more approachable than this one. And I'm excited to dive back into that game. And I can also, I don't know exactly when these episodes are going to be, but we are getting remasters or remakes of Final Fantasy Tactics and Dragon Quest 1 and Dragon Quest 2. We will have at least one episode dedicated to all three of those games coming up through November into December, sort of depending on when the panel's available, but those are coming. So if you are tired of listening to us talk about obscure games from 2003 that are not super fun to play, we'll be talking about things that are more popular soon enough. If you want to get in touch with us and tell us to stop talking about obscure games, that won't happen. You can email us, retro@rpgfan.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Twitter or X, Blue Sky, Twitch, YouTube. We're usually RPG Fan or RPG Fan.com and all those places. We also have a Discord where you can chat with some of us. You can chat with other fans of RPG Fan. We also have a shop, actually two shops, one hosted by TeePublic, where you can buy mugs, t-shirts, things like that. If you want to rep RPG Fan, there's a lot of cool stuff there. We also have a shop hosted by Hyperplay RPG, where they published a collection of our review cards, which were originally created by Steph, that you might have seen on Instagram. There's 300 of them all together. It looks like an old video game magazine. That design, it feels like, I can't remember when you first started doing those review cards, Steph, but it feels like such a part of our identity now that like it's hard for me to divorce RPG Fan from those. And I think online it's a big part of our identity. So thank you.
We're already at like 180 for like...
Yeah,
they add up.
It's awesome. They're incredible. Speaking of incredible, we also have two other great podcasts. They're usually on every other Monday. One is Random Encounter, hosted by Jono. It is typically about more current games. Usually he'll bring on people who reviewed things that have just come out, and they'll talk about it. And then there's also Rhythm Encounter, which is about RPG music.
Is it Jono? I've been calling him Jono.
It's Jono, yeah.
Okay.
I think. I don't know. If Jono's listening, which he's probably not, because he probably hasn't played Drakengard because he's smarter than me.
It doesn't seem like a game he would play.
It does not seem Jono-coded at all. You are correct. You can also review us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify. If you can find podcasts there, we are generally there. And let's talk about how to get in touch with the individual panelists, starting with you, Ben.
Yeah, you can email me at benloganlove@gmail.com.
Awesome. And Aleks?
You can email me at alexfraniczek@gmail.com.
And Steph?
You can reach me via RPG Fan. I'm usually the person doing social stuff, so you're probably chatting with me if you're chatting there. And if you want to reach me personally, I talk a lot of video games. I draw a lot of game art, actually. And you can reach me at Dice SMS, like playing dice SMS.
Awesome. And if you want to get in touch with me, that retro email works. I'm also on our Discord as Zach W. My email is zachw@rpgfan.com. So I usually check that once every few days. So thanks the three of you for coming along for this messy game in what turned out to be a messy recording. We bounced around a lot, and it was also because we kept getting cut off because my internet was not very cooperative. Thanks, Yoko Taro. But seriously, thank you, panelists. Thank you, listeners. Good night and good luck.